Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
Mic check 1 2.
All right, good. All right, cool. Audio's working. We are live. Good deal. Okay, let's see here. Hope everybody's doing well. We're just going to share this to social media. Call coming up with ESPN Upstate in about 5 minutes or so. Somewhere in that time frame. So hope everybody's doing well today. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hope you're all staying dry. Hope you're all doing well. Obviously, slow news day, right? There's not a lot to talk about, right? Oh man, what a mess we have today for sure with the Jordan Burch stuff. You guys leave your questions leading up if you like. Sure, everybody's on their lunch break right now, so similar to yesterday, we're gonna knock it out on ESPN Upstate. The good old boys over there. We're going live with Diddy today, so very excited, very very excited. Diddy's a good dude. If you never listened to him, really good at what he does. Really good dude. So excited to chat with him. So. Hope everyone's doing well. Like I said, if you have any questions in the meantime, going live on ESPN Upstate at 12:20 to talk about everything. Jordan Burch, men's basketball, the recruiting class, everything. Everything with the Gamecocks. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now, especially with the Burch situation. So if you guys have any questions on it, would love to take those as well. But like I said, here in the next 5 minutes or so, going live on ESPN Upstate. So hope everybody's doing well. Having a great Thursday. Yeah. So again, talking that Jordan Burch situation, pretty much probably going to be the main focus. I know everybody's looking for answers right now, and nobody has them. Not even really I. So, it's just it's crazy, crazy, crazy situation. It's a crazy situation. So, like I said, you guys have any questions, comments, whatever, like I said, going live here in the next 3-4 minutes with ESPN Upstate. Excited to chat with those guys. But, yeah, it's been a wild 24 hours. That's for sure. It's been a wild, wild 24 hours. So, and I don't know when it's going to end. I really don't. I don't know when it's going to end or what the solution is going to be. If Burch is coming to South Carolina, if he's going to LSU. I mean, I've heard things that, I've been optimistic on the Burch front since the beginning, but, with the way this is going, I don't really even know what to think anymore. It's just, and I've heard, maybe it's his family or his mom or whatever, and if that's the case, that's extremely unfortunate because to me, it's all reflecting on the kid. You know what I mean? You can say whatever about his mom. It's all reflecting on him in the end. Unfortunately, there are going to be fans that have preconceived notions about him because of this situation, like it or not. So I feel bad for him, honestly. If that's what it is, if it's his mom and family, I feel bad for him in that case. I really do. I feel for him. Family should not. There we go. Families should not play, make the decision that tough or play that big of a factor. Just my opinion, but whatever. So. How do you feel about the recruiting class as a whole besides Burch? I feel good about it. You know what I mean? I here's the thing. I'd make a strong argument that Burch isn't even the most important piece of the class. The most important piece of the class was Marshawn Lloyd, in my opinion, no question. I mean, he's the guy that I think if South Carolina is going to get back to where they were, they had to get a guy like him. I think he's probably the next 1,000-yard rusher at South Carolina. Here, they're calling in right now, guys. Hi, it's Chris.
Hey, Chris. Diesel from ESPN Upstate.
Hey, man. What's up? Yep.
All right, good. We're back here in about 20 seconds. Stand by.
All right, awesome. All right, it's like I said, you guys should be able to hear this. Yep, going live on ESPN Upstate, talking Burch, talking basketball. Obviously, there's a lot to get into, so hopefully you guys enjoy this. Yeah, stay out of the rain. Stay dry. It's crazy out there right now.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. ESPN Upstate. Tons of things going on in Columbia with Gamecocks athletics, and to help us sort it all out, we're going to head straight to the headline. Bring in a friend of the program, friend of the station, really, Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show. You can give him a follow on Twitter at StevePhilly19 or at the Spurs Up Show for all of his Gamecocks coverage. Chris, welcome in. Did he take over?
Did he? Appreciate it. Slow news day, huh?
Yeah, a little bit slow today. I'm not sure we have much to talk about.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Can we call Chris the headline? Can that be your nickname?
That's fine. That's fine. I've been called worse, so I'll take it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to avoid the two negative things first. So we're going to start in baseball, which is weird to do right now with things going on. But you've been covering everything going on with the baseball team, watching the practices, everything else. Give us some positivity here as Gamecock fans. What am I looking forward to in baseball? Why can I have some happiness in this time of dread?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, on the diamond, I would say the most positive thing going into the baseball season is Carmen Majinski is 100% healthy and to me looks every bit like the All-American caliber pitcher we expected him to be last year. You know, a guy that D1 Baseball ranked inside their top 10 of guys that are draft eligible for the 2020 season in college baseball. I mean, he's a guy that has the makings of an All-American caliber starter, one of the best in the SEC. And then I think this South Carolina baseball team just as a whole, I think Gamecock fans should be very optimistic. I'm not sitting here saying this team's going to get back to Omaha or anything, but this team is much, much deeper than it was a year ago. Pitching, hitting, there's some guys that I think South Carolina fans aren't familiar with right now that they're going to get to know and they're going to become household names. But I'm really excited about this baseball team. Again, there's a lot of depth. They have a great problem in the sense that, there's limited spots, there's limited innings, and there's a lot of quality guys fighting for those jobs. So I think it's going to be a very, very fun year for South Carolina baseball. And again, just from a 30,000 feet view, if you will, for South Carolina fans, this is a team that I 110% expect to get back to the postseason. I think it's going to be a very, very fun year for Gamecock fans. So,
nice. We had to start with the good news.
Of course. Of course.
He is Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show here with us on ESPN Upstate. All right, into the first set of frustrating things going on. We'll start in the recruiting day issues. Jordan Burch looked like he was going to sign. Hammond had that little graphic up with the Gamecock logo in front of him. He had the hat on at one point. It looked like he signed something at one point, and then we find out he has not yet signed the letter of intent. What's the latest you've heard on Jordan Burch, and how grim is this for Gamecock fans?
Oh, well, it's funny. I mean, I think everybody is looking for answers right now, Diddy, obviously. And to be honest with you, I don't think many people have them. I mean, what stayed constant in this and the theme that has been with Jordan Burch's recruitment is everything's quiet. Everything's hush-hush. I mean, his mom and him, and they've kept everything on the down low. From what I've seen on social media, you've seen different things that, he's had contact with LSU and South Carolina. He signed the national letter of intent, but hasn't submitted it. I think it's all speculation at this point, honestly. But, To be honest with you, I think it's a worse look on Jordan Burch than it is South Carolina. I mean, I look at it this way. If he was my son, I'm a big person. I believe in going with your gut, making a decision, trusting your gut, and just going with that decision. If you don't know by now that Columbia is home for you, as much as I want him to come to South Carolina, maybe it's not. I mean, if it's this hard to convince yourself that, Columbia is home, and again, you gave him the benefit of the doubt when he committed the early signing period, said, hey, he's not going to actually sign until National Signing Day. And then for this to drag out, honestly, Diddy, I've been optimistic throughout the entire process that, he's going to be a Gamecock. I think that if he was going to go anywhere else, he would have committed there at the early signing period and then flipped maybe back to South Carolina. I didn't think he'd flip off of South Carolina to somewhere else. But the longer this drags out, the more that I think he's going to go to LSU, just simply because, again, if you have to convince yourself at this point, this intently, that Columbia is home, maybe it's just not the right decision, because the right decision should not be this hard to make, in my opinion. So again, I've heard different things, that it's him, that it's his mother. And if that's the case, I truly feel bad for the kid, because this is going to reflect poorly on him, not the mom. Unfortunately, no matter what he does, there are going to be fans that have preconceived notions about him now, which is extremely unfortunate, because from everything I've seen and heard, he's a great kid. He's an outstanding student. He's obviously an outstanding football player, but I think, and again, he has every right to handle this situation and make the decision on his time frame, but it's been also kind of shady, for lack of a better word. It's just dragging fans along and dragging the schools along. It's just, you can't sugarcoat it. It's not a good look for him.
Absolutely. Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show with us here on ESPN Upstate. Yeah, and how much, though, do you think kind of plays into this, the thought process of what might be happening at South Carolina, the feeling of I might be committing to a Will Muschamp that's gone in 2021, and then I'm in a rebuild in my second year of college? Is that something that might be weighing on Jordan Burch in this situation?
I think it's all on the table. I think that's definitely a fair point you bring up, but how is that not something you've already thought about as the 2019 season was going on? If that's your thought process, why would you not have decommitted? Why would you ever committed to South Carolina in December? You know what I mean? So listen, it's all out there. Listen, everyone the last 24 hours has been asking me, what's the deal with Jordan Burch? What's the deal with Jordan Burch? And it's not a sexy answer, but the truth is we just don't know. I don't recall a time in a kid's recruiting that I've ever seen like this, where it has, he's coming to South Carolina, he's not. He's coming to South Carolina, he's not. The whole ceremony yesterday seemed out of whack with, he has the hat on the table, puts the hat on. He never really says he's going to play at South Carolina. He just says, I'm going to play with my friends. It's like, well, what does that mean? Can you expand a little bit? They won't do interviews. It's just, it's madness. Trust me, the point you bring up, it's very valid, but again, it's all speculation at this point, because we, if that was the case, again, I'm like, why would you ever commit there in the first place? But it is, I can't even imagine, as stressed as we are right now, I can't imagine the stress that Will Muschamp and his coaching staff and Ed Orgeron and his coaching staff are feeling right now.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris Phillips is, again, with us here on ESPN Upstate of the Spurs Up Show. And you saw yesterday, too, what's weird about that, when he says, I'm going to play with my friends, you see some of his teammates sitting next to him, like right. Jackson Muschamp, who is going to Georgia. And you're like, well, what friends? Friends you have at LSU, friends sitting next to you going to Georgia. What's going on here? Do you think anything with the Jackson Muschamp story and speculation plays into this at all with him, because they're friends?
I don't think so. I really think it's between South Carolina and LSU. I think he's going to go one or the other. Again, LSU was in it very late. He took an unofficial visit there. Certainly maybe Georgia could come back into it, but it seems like they pretty much solidified up their class. But no, I think it's between South Carolina and LSU. And again, I'm still fairly optimistic he's going to be a Gamecock. But again, it's just the longer this drags out, the more it makes me think, again, that LSU is coming more and more and more in the picture. Like I said, if it's this hard to make the decision to stay home and play, you have to start questioning yourself. Maybe it's not the right decision. It's just in my mind, again. So, I don't know. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but I sort of feel for the kid, because, again, if it's out of his hands in a sense where it's a family situation or there's disagreement between him and his mother, I feel for the kid, because it's reflecting on him directly. And if he comes to South Carolina and balls out, fans will forget about it, obviously. But it's just in the immediate future, it's just an unfortunate situation for all parties. And hopefully it's resolved soon, because, again, I think fans have every right to be disgruntled a little bit, because, again, you've given the kid the benefit of the doubt throughout the entire process. And I think Tom Luginbill on ESPNU this morning said it perfectly. At some point, you got to man up. You got to make a decision and just move on with it and stop stringing people along, if you will.
He's Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show with us here on ESPN Upstate. We're going to move over to the hardwood. Last night, a bad loss, a game the Gamecocks should have won, falling to Ole Miss out in Oxford. You know, we got the news of Manaya's injury. He's out for a little while now. How bad is the outlook now for Gamecocks men's basketball with Manaya out in another SEC loss last night?
You know what's funny, Diddy? I'm still strangely optimistic. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't think the Ole Miss loss has to define your season. I don't think they lost just because Manaya was out last night. Did it hurt? Absolutely. But I think they probably still lose if he's playing. I mean, top to bottom, outside of Jermaine Couisnard and Mike Kotsar, this team did not play well last night. I mean, maybe Justin Manaya makes up for those 14 points with his defense and gives you 10 or 12 last night. But I don't know. It's kind of funny, man. I'm like, maybe I should have seen this coming because the line came out, South Carolina 1.5 point favorite. It switches over to Ole Miss favorite by 1.5. So it was a weird line to begin with. You know, I hate to say South Carolina was due for a letdown performance or due for a bad game, but then they had been playing such good basketball, won 3 straight SEC games. It's a bad loss, don't get me wrong. What it does do is maximize the importance of the game Saturday in Columbia against Texas A&M. If you lose that one on your home floor, then I will really start to sweat about the rest of the season and the outlook. But again, that Ole Miss game, in my opinion, last night, it was bad. It was brutal. It was tough to watch. It doesn't have to define your season, though. It's tough to go on the road and win in the SEC, even with Ole Miss having a 1-7 record when you played them. You know, they had been close a couple times, especially at home, and South Carolina historically struggles in Oxford. Doesn't have to define your season, but you better figure it out quickly. You better figure out how to replace Justin Manaya quickly, whether that's Trey Hannibal, whether that's Jair Bolden steps up. A.J. Lawson, I've said it 100 times this season, he's got to figure it out. He's got to be the guy for South Carolina. But you got to find a way to bounce back quickly because you need to get a win over Texas A&M. Otherwise, again, like you said, it really changes the outlook on the rest of the season, no doubt.
And, you know, how much of that loss, though, even though it's not going to define the season, where does that put you in your mindset of thinking they can at least find their way back into the bubble conversation? Is that kind of slimming out, and is it gone if they do lose to Texas A&M?
Well, and Diddy, here's the thing, man. You know, people had been asking me on this winning streak and just throughout the beginning of conference play, you know, is this an NCAA tournament team? You know, do we think we can be an NCAA tournament team? My response never really changed. Is that, listen, I became very encouraged with what I saw, but the loss to Stetson and the way that I felt leaving the arena that day is just burnt into my memory. And I just told myself, as good as this team's playing, that version of South Carolina basketball can return at any moment. It can come back. And I think that's what you saw last night. So I never really was on the bandwagon that this is an NCAA tournament team. I was more so the one game at a time. Let's just see if they keep winning. So I think that talk was always sort of unrealistic. I think, you know, obviously you need to get to the postseason. I said that before the season, that for Frank Martin to feel good about where the program is still going, you need to get to the postseason at minimum. So shooting for the NIT is much more realistic. But yeah, I mean, I never really jumped on that bandwagon of NCAA tournament just because as good as this team has played at times, it has played equally as bad at times. And we've seen that. And again, that came out last night against Ole Miss, unfortunately. So
he is Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show. Again, you can follow his Gamecock coverage at the Spurs Up Show on Twitter or at CPhilly19. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today.
Diddy, appreciate it, man. Anytime.
It's just it's tough times, man. Tough times to be a game.
All right, wraps it up. Appreciate it, guys. That was fun. Always fun with Diddy. Diddy's a good dude. Man, oh man. Crazy, that Burch stuff, man. It's just crazy. It is. Let's see. Bobby Melnick, what's up, man? I saw your son sign. That's awesome. The PWO. Welcome to Columbia. I know you say you're living in enemy territory, so welcome to Columbia, though. Let's see. Courtney Washington. Yeah. I mean, listen, A.J. Lawson's got to play better, period. Point blank. He's got to play better. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. But A.J. Lawson, I don't understand it truly because he had such a good year last year. He's got to step up and play better. Violent Gamer 24. I want to know what's going on with Zach Pickens. He played a little bit last year. You know, the nice thing about Pickens, he didn't have to play a ton. You know, you have Javon Kinlaw. You had, you know, Rick Sandage, who'd already been there a year. You know, you had other guys. You had a lot of experience in the defensive line, right? That was one of our best positions a year ago. That was one of the deepest. So the good news is, as a true freshman, Zach Pickens did not have to play a ton, but he needs to make a much bigger impact this year. He's got to be one of your dudes for sure. Super Stu, Zach played in the Missouri game, the CSU game. I saw him get a couple tackles. Yeah, like I said, limited playing time. He didn't have to play a lot, though. And again, that's kind of what you want. You want to build a program in the sense where you're not having to ask your true freshman to play every down. So, but I do expect that he's got to have a big year this year, no doubt. He's got to step up and sort of fill that Ken Law role, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I agree. AJ Lawson hasn't played well all season for sure. I don't think he redshirted him. I think he played more than 4. I'm almost positive he played more than 4. So, yeah, this Burch stuff is just taking over, man. It's crazy. Everybody's going nuts. Do you expect him to drag it until April 1st? I surely hope not. Man, I do not want to talk about this for the next 2 months. I really don't. And I won't. And I will not spend every day talking about this. Really, if he hasn't submitted the LOI by tomorrow, I'm moving to baseball next week, period. Unless there's some absolute news that drops, I'm moving to baseball. I don't care. Jordan Burch, go to LSU if you want. Go to South Carolina. I don't care. Do whatever you want. But I'm not spending every day talking about this shit. I'm not. Figure it out. Shit or get off the pot. That's what I really meant to say on the radio. I know I can't say that, but shit or get off the pot, man. Shit or get off the pot. Like, just do it. Just do something. Stop dragging everybody along. Oh, man. Okay. Was it 12:36? 12:36. Yeah, I think our baseball team will be a lot better. It's going to be a lot more fun to watch for Gamecock fans. I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic, to be honest with you guys. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. So, but I got to go. Got things to do. Got errands to run. What's upcoming? What's upcoming? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously, really do appreciate the support. That was a lot of fun. Every time we go on ESPN Upstate Live with those guys, it is a lot of fun. But thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, stay tuned to the Spurs Up Show, all this Burch stuff. I mean, again, as soon as I know something, you guys will know. I mean, that's just, we're all kind of sitting here wait and see mode if that LOI comes in. So, we'll just see what happens. So appreciate you guys tuning in, though. We will talk soon. Be sure to stay tuned to the SpursUpShow.com, the Spurs Up Show on social media. A lot of content dropping, tons of content. It's been crazy the last 24 hours, and I think it's going to continue throughout the week and throughout next week. And we kick off with baseball next week, opening day. Got a ton of announcements coming tomorrow as well regarding baseball and just regarding the future of the Spurs Up Show. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate the support, guys. We'll talk soon. Thanks.